Today we are talking with Shannon Alexander Murphy. Dear Shannon,
Hey, Danny.
how are you, dear?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you, man.
Good.
It's been some time, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's good to see you as well. It's I like the angle.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like the angle. This is good. Keep the angle like this. This is
Oh,
good.
it's beautiful. Here we are. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like you're maybe on the other side of the world, and
Yeah.
your camera is reflecting, reflecting that somehow. But how are you? Where are you at the moment? You're in Berlin, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just taking off down the south to just outside of Dresden, Freiburg, where I've got my two little children.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just down meeting with them. Um, Yeah, but I just got back last week. Actually, snuck into the country through all the, the situation through the border crossings, and yeah, it was quite a process actually. Like coming through as an Australian passport holder, and trying to sort of announce why I should be here, and yeah,
Mm.
I went with
Yeah.
being a father, so that worked for me. Yeah. But it was a bit of a process, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting. I think it's now getting a bit more difficult to travel around. So it's good that you made it back to this side
Yeah,
just in time, I would say.
yeah.
Um, yeah. This is the third Artist is Live chat we've had,
Oh, yeah.
and we've prepared a few questions for you. I know I said I would send these through to you, but I didn't. I forgot. I
Oh, what?
forgot. So
Hang on, the anxiety.
so this is the first time you're hearing these questions, but I think or rather the first conversation we left it a little bit open, but I think it would be the second one we focused a bit more on questions, and it seemed to be pretty cool. So you haven't had these questions before, a little bit spontaneous, but let's have a chilled sort of chat around these questions and see what comes out. Sound good?
Thanks, man. How are you going anyway? You all right?
Oh, we're good. We're good. Yeah, just working on the foundations and yeah, the longer term goals and things like this. So it's actually a good time for that. And of course, this opportunity just to chat with you and other artists is made possible by this time. I see lots of other people are doing the same thing, which is great. I mean, we've all got
Okay.
to, connect and do things. So this is, I see as we're all trying this out and doing it in our own little ways. So Shannon, Alexander Murphy,
Mm.
um, you say your work is focused on marginal and social practices such as, oh no, this is
Someone
this is
else. I can
yesterday's
that.
question. This
Who
is
was it?
yesterday's question. That's hilarious. So, Shannon Alexander Murphy, you say your work is spiritual, ecological, and has economic significance. Can you tell us a bit more about this, if possible?
Not me either, that one, but I'll answer it for you. What was the first bit?
Okay.
That's not me either.
It was.
Man, I'm
It's going. Yeah, it's going from like a chill chat to straight into tough question time. I'll say it again. If it's yeah, you say your work is your work has been described as spiritual, ecological, and has economic significance, or plays with these themes. Thinking about that, could you tell us a bit more, perhaps, about that side of your work?
All right. I don't remember saying that, but I can answer them. Um, so yeah, my practice for the last 20 years has been involved with working with nature. So that at the moment, or the last couple of years specifically, it's been working with the four elements. The classic elements being air, earth, fire, and water. So I'm going as like a series through those, taking a couple of years with each of those. yeah, to explore how I can engage with those elements from an autonomous position, really, as an artist. I think sometimes it can be a little bit too egomatic. You know, the idea or the position of the artist, you know, formerly has been to sort of control it like a director or a producer. And I really love the idea of working with people or with nature and sharing that. So, yeah, specifically with nature, I've been trying to let the nature take over of the artwork, and so constructing situations or environments where it can do that. So an example, yeah, when we worked together, I set up the swimming pool in your great little space there in Berlin, and filled it with water, and then hopped in underneath, took the canvas underneath the water, and painted with the water under the water, and really let the water do the talking, let's say, and I was more there as a guide or to sort of advise, I guess, how the water should move. But in the end, the water does what it does, right? And so it flowed how it might. So I can't remember what the question was, but since then, since I've seen you, I'm now working with fire. So the same idea, they're going into an environment and trying to, or creating an environment and trying to let the nature do the talking. So I just got back from Australia for the last 10 weeks, where I was working in the bushfires, taking the canvas into the bushfire and working with the charcoal and with the fires, and really letting the fire, I guess, create the impression on the canvas. And then sort of again guiding or being informed by the fire as to what the end product was. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So water, then fire, then I'll run with fire this year, I think, given our scenario, which is, yeah, I guess I can really sort of work furtherly with the virus, let's say, from a naturalistic point of view. So perhaps going into sort of micro sense about it, like maybe looking at the water, like the particles in the air, or yeah, or you know, so going from water to fire, then to air. So this would be a great time for me to now practice with air, through the virus. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, the when you're going back to that exhibition that we did together, the technique you were using there was based on this Japanese tradition. And forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but it was I think it's suminagashi. Suminagashi.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? Could you tell us a bit more about that? How did you come about that, and what is it? What is this this technique?
Yeah, so suminagashi is an ancient technique by Asian tradition. It started actually in China and then moved through to Japan a few centuries later. The Japanese were utilizing water back then with their inks to inform their artworks. So they would use it as a you know, as a naturalistic substance to let the water spiritually, make an impression on an artwork, so, or a piece of paper then. So what they would traditionally do is standing in a river with their ink, and then applying the ink onto a paper set or a rice paper. And having an impression. Then it further then went to more of a printmaking technique, where you could have paper on top of you know, floating on top of an oil or an ink base, and then receive an impression on the paper, much like a stamp, and then that would be the source of your background for your foundation of your artwork, or just leave it as it were. And so yeah, deeply spiritual practice where
Mm.
there were water in Japan is synonymous with a lot of things in their culture that stand for a lot of ethos and ethics and a way of being actually. So coming from like water, what is that cliche that we now use in the West? Move like water or be like water.
Right. I see. So it builds on that kind of principle.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, they have very very loose general sort of background on Sumanagachi. It's still practiced today, and yeah, so I went over there and did some workshops, and yeah, I mean that just inspired me as a way of being, as how to be as a human, be like water, and this obviously the Japanese as a culture is very very beautiful for being with, and I just really respect that culture. So it made sense for me to continue along those lines to bring it into my own practice.
Hey, Shannon. Is there any way of is the microphone covered a little bit? I can't quite hear your. Like, it's a little bit muffled. The audio. Is there any way of making that a bit clearer?
I think so. Yeah, I just need to take
Oh, that's better. That's better.
Yeah.
All good. Tell us about your solo show at Palermo. That was quite recent, wasn't it? Or the last? That was just at the end of last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what happened there was Palermo was under a flood. So Sicilia, the city of Palermo, it was the European cultural capital that year for art. So yeah, there was an organization that reached out and said, can you come and do your performance / practice here after we've had a flood? So work with the water and come up with an outcome. So we ended up being in an incredible monastery in the middle of Palermo, which it's incredible because of the history, of course, but also the visual aesthetic, and also it had no roof on, which was what it's symbolically known for now. Yeah, so it was just a visually incredible space to be working in, and yeah, so I constructed a water vessel within that. Perhaps I could give some links at the end of this conversation for that if you need.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then so I went under in a diving outfit and went under the water and did the same Sumanagashi technique, painted underneath and pulled out the canvases much later, dried them, and then we hung those around the space. Yeah, so that was, I mean, it's not really about the outcome, let's say, more about the practice and the process.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost sort of on that sort of fine line between having making a painting, but also the performance side of things. I watched a couple of videos, including the one that we did together here, but the one you did in Palermo, and yeah, I mean, you certainly are conscious of the process and the potential performance side of making your work, and it's almost the video pieces are almost sort of standalone art pieces almost.
Yeah, look, I tried to surmise what my practice was just recently. When you get to a category which most artists generally don't like to do, but I guess I was just thinking that, it's nice if it come to it that art can somehow direct the people. If, rather than the artist directing, then the art itself can speak. And, it's very challenging to get to a level where the art is speaking for itself, but I think great art does that. And actually the author becomes very secondary. And it's really about facilitating a space that can let the work speak. And of course I need to be there, and I don't need to perform, but I think if I can sort of direct it a little bit, then that's the role for me of art, in a sense. An artist with the art, with the production, is to actually direct the people a little bit, to offer some sort of some way forward, or a process, or a thinking pattern that may not be usual for them.
Yeah.
I think that's the real power of art.
Yeah, and I think the way in which the Palermo exhibition combined those two elements of your work was really good. You know, you had a clear example of of the process and how you achieve the work, which is fundamental to the outcome, and then of course you had the outcome that people could then see and appreciate more in the context of that process. So that was pretty cool.
Well, good
What
work.
are you up to next? So
Nice. Like,
you've just I, maybe there's a bit of a delay. What are you up to next? You've just arrived back in Berlin just by the skin of your teeth. What are you up to next?
so
Are
yeah,
yeah.
just a series of 20, 3 meters by 2 meters, so quite large pieces of work in the bushfires in Australia. Yeah, which I'm really happy with, what the result of those was. You know, that whole process, that whole engagement with communities there. Obviously, it's very raw still, the bushfires of Australia in the summer. But I think it was important for me to go there and get a document of that. And then in 10 or 20 years, if we have a fragment that says, okay, do you remember that? I mean, of course we will, but, you know, like, I think it's just important that I did something within the environment there, given that my practice is about the nature, and that I'm from Australia. So yeah, I guess I'm in a process now of having it photographed, and then it'll probably be exhibited over here in Europe. But who really knows? Now there was a couple of people that wanted to show it, but now it's unknown, really. You know, if we have shows live or whether that will be online. And then, yeah, as I was saying earlier, that I'd like to work now with the air, given that the coronavirus and the, you know, and the particularity of, you know, wearing these face masks with the particles and the moisture and the, you know, all of this virus. But what do you think, Benny? What's your sort of outtake on it? I mean, in terms of, if you've got to quit some, is it the bats? Are the bats holding everything? The Ebola, the bloody viruses, or is it?
Yeah, I think that it's something that I'm just sort of getting. There's so much information about it, and I think me personally, at the moment, it's just about taking the guidelines that we're given, and also on a sort of personal level, you know, using the time to, like we were saying at the start of the conversation, just to use this time to focus on longer term plans and actions, and strengthening the structures, and really just taking a step back. You know, the actual situation itself is just so unusual and overwhelming, and there's so many sort of differing opinions on it, that what can you do but just stick with the guidelines and use your time wisely, you know?
You know
That's what we're doing here.
I love that, you know, it's really highlighted the less glamorous sort of roles of society. You know, like, I look out here and the mall man, the bin man comes along, and he still needs to function, and he's doing a great job. And, you know, the teachers are sort of highlighted. Fuck, we need to look after our kids. Shit, well, where are the teachers? Oh, they were really important. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, that's really true.
Nurses are really important now. You know, all these jobs that were, you know, often cast, you know, looked at as frowned upon sometimes for some parts of society that were, you know, not as esteemed as others, let's say, have now come right to the fore as how important those roles within the fabric of society are. So, you know, that's one positive that I can see, that there's more focus now on the little jobs, you know, the little things that make
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a lot of things are being revealed right now, and yeah, but I think the fact that we're still connected and you know, moving forward is a good thing. So but hey, look, so just to thanks for answering our questions and having a chat to us today. We've got this little segment that wraps up the conversation just in a light-hearted way. I'm going to ask you a couple of things, and you just have to choose one or the other. So, are you ready for that? Oh, what's this?
That was for you. I don't know how I can get that to you. Hang on. Maybe you can.
What is that?
That's an image that I drew with my daughter just this morning.
Oh, beautiful, Shannon. Oh, that's beautiful, yeah.
That's a scarf, I think, and particles over the fence.
That's beautiful, yeah, cool.
But you can always jump the fence, go and help your neighbour.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a way around the fence either side. It doesn't look like a very effective fence. Are you in your studio now, or no? You're in the house part, are you? Or
yeah, I'm just in a little office space in the house. Yeah.
Oh, you're in the office. Okay, because maybe next time if we catch up again, we could have a quick sort of little look around. But anyway, I'm going to hit you with a couple of 10 quick fire questions just to wrap up the interview.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. So, number one, coffee or ciggy?
Oh man, this could go on forever, really. I just gave up.
Just one or the other. Just one or the other. Quick.
Fuck. Cigarettes.
Painting or performance?
Painting.
Kandinsky or Paul Klee?
Oh man, you do your research, yeah? Fuck. Kandinsky, yeah.
Water or fire?
Right now, fire, yeah.
Australia or Berlin?
Oh.
This is the hard questions.
Oh man, they're perfect. They're spot on. Can I say? I don't know, the airplane, actually. Yeah.
You can pass as well. You can pass. I'll take a pass on the more difficult ones.
Yeah.
Kebab or these are kebab or pommes frites.
Kebab, yeah.
Museums or art spaces.
Museums, yeah.
An outdoor swimming pool or an indoor swimming pool. Depends on the weather, I suppose.
Oh man, they both have their beauties.
And Kudos Gallery or Weserhalle?
Oh, Weserhalle.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up there, Shannon. Thanks so much for chatting to us today. I don't know what our camera angles have been. I'm going to put mine back up the proper way. Let's stay in touch. Yeah, let's stay in touch. Thanks for chatting to us today, and we will. Yeah, and we'll have a catch up soon outside of this. Yeah.
See you, love. Love to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Cheers. I'll speak to you soon.
See you, love. Thanks,
Bye.
man.